Hey, you guys, welcome back to my Fueled by Faith series. I am going to act as if this is going to work, and that's because I have a feeling it's going to work. So, for those of you who joined at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, you were on time, okay? We were not late on purpose. Ashley, I think, was even ready before I was. I was wobbling around the house numerous times trying to get the access to the whatever was going on with the connection. I thought it was a connection issue. Well, I shared a little bit of this story. I had issues with my password last week where it just was not working for me to sign in. And then I got an alert from Apple saying that my accounts were hacked. I had over 250 passwords and it was not working. Anyway, I think that was. If you ever get an alert that says your accounts are hacked, I think it was because of that. I actually signed out of my Instagram account and signed back in, and now it's working.
I can
Hi.
see you.
I'm so sorry. John's over here. He's over here like doing a little dance. Like, we got it. I'm so sorry. So I was just telling everyone, Ashley, that like last week my accounts were hacked. Thanks, babes. Last week my accounts were hacked and I had over like 200 passwords that I saved down onto my phone. And I got an alert saying that somebody was trying to sign in and then it crashed everything. So it said you need to go and change your password. Well, I did go and change most of my passwords, including this one, but it wouldn't let me go live, I guess, until I signed out and signed back in. So if any of you have this issue, fix it today so you don't end up trying to have a live and it not working. I'm so sorry. Thank you
That's
for
all
your
right.
patience.
We got it. It was meant to be. So we're
We d-
good.
we did. So I know time is of the essence, especially as a mom. So thank you again for being on here. Thank you to everyone for your patience. Welcome to my Fueled by Faith series. I think this is episode 7. So I am just super excited to have Coach Ashley on here. She is just a powerhouse. You look amazing, by the way, and just you're so inspiring. She is the CEO of her company, her running company, Palm Running. And she's just truly empowering women everywhere and people everywhere in general to just live out their best life. I've actually been inspired by you just from seeing not just your posts, but how you show up. And so I want people, we all want people in our circle who resonate with our core values, and you are very much about your core values and you show up for yourself and for others. So I just really wanted to have you on here because I do think that a lot of the decisions you've shown just from your Instagram story speaks volumes to how you're living a life that's fueled by faith and not by fear. So thanks for being here.
Well, thank you so much for that. And I see the same with you. So I'm just so looking forward to this tonight.
Thank you. So we'll jump right in. I know that you do have your own company, but we'll get into that a little bit later. I would like to talk first about your childhood and sort of what stands out about your childhood and how it's relating to your life today.
Yeah. So I think the biggest part when like thinking back to growing up was how my parents just kind of showed up in my life and how they kind of taught me to show up and work hard. And they did that through their actions. And a big part of that was also sports. My parents got us really involved in sports at a young age. And, you think growing up that it's all about winning the game or the championship. But looking back, I just learned how many life lessons that taught me about teamwork, about showing up on time, about knowing how to handle defeat. And so, the biggest part of my childhood revolved around sports, and it was fun competing growing up, but it was really those values that we learned through the game that have now transferred in my career as an adult and what I did prior and my business that I'm running now.
Exactly. No, that's great. And I love the fact that you talk about how they truly taught you that discipline. That's what it sounds like, just from like showing up and learning how to lose. And when I think about how that translates into adulthood, it doesn't stop when you're a kid. You have to always know how to like lose with a smile and show up early and be there and sign up for yourself. So that's great. And I love how you connected it back. Do you think that there's like a favorite memory that you have from your childhood? And what would you say makes it so special for you?
I was thinking about that, and so many of them for me were just like being in the yard playing catch with my dad, or he'd throw the ball and I'd hit it, and my dog would run and get it. My brother being around and he'd be upset if I did something and he didn't. Just like those little moments, just spending time together. Like those are the biggest things that stand out from my childhood is just that time together as a family.
I love that. And do you feel like this was not part of our questions, the list, but do you see like any sort of parallels between your childhood and how your parents created that childhood for you that you now want to instill? How many kids do you have?
I have two. Yeah.
Okay, okay.
I have
Oh,
a 4-year-old and a 1-year-old, and that's
oh
a
my
huge
gosh.
part of it. I see how much my parents shaped me, and that's a huge part in where we're at now. And actually, why I took the leap into running my own business, because I wanted to be a little bit more present for my kids, and I wanted to have that, and I wanted to show them more of those examples of setting goals and chasing them and all of those things. So absolutely, I can see just kind of recreating that for my kids as well.
That's awesome. That's great. So, kind of shifting gears into sort of not quite present day, but your life right before the present. So, I know you're a retired nurse practitioner. And so, how hard was it sort of leaving that industry, and what made you kind of leave that industry to become a certified running coach?
Yeah. So if you would have told me 4 years ago I'd be doing this, I would have told you that you were crazy. My dream was to become a nurse practitioner and work emergency medicine. And so
Wow.
that's where we landed, and that's where I was working. And it was actually after I had my son, I went through a rare 2-month health scare with a rare form of breast cancer. And it was,
Oh my gosh.
yeah, it was in that time, my life just kind of got flipped upside down. I just envisioned my son's life without me being there, because when I went through this, there was all kinds of unknowns. And as much as I loved my career in medicine, I really enjoyed it. It was taking a lot of that family time that I wanted. I was doing nights, weekends, holidays. And so while I knew I wanted something different, I didn't want to leave what I loved about medicine. And medicine was taking care of people. It was teaching them about their health. And so I kind of was able, thankfully, to step into my business. I was able to tiptoe into it without leaving my job. And I just kept feeling pulled. So I just kept saying yes, and I just kept serving a little bit more. And while I technically am not practicing as a nurse practitioner, I do all my favorite things from that. I help people with their health. I get
Yeah.
to take care of them and be there walking by their side. And in many regards, I feel like with what I'm doing now, I get to have that lasting impact on their health. I get to help them stay out of the emergency room.
Yeah.
So it's been the blend of both worlds for me.
I really love that, Ashley, because you talk about like a nurse practitioner sort of comes in, I feel like sometimes from an intervention perspective because something has happened, right? But to your point, you got to meet them. It's more of a proactive approach. Not saying that, my sister-in-law is a nurse. She's fantastic. I love that she's, essentially laid down her life, especially in a world pandemic for other people. But it's truly something where it kind of feels like it's on the back end versus the front end of being able to sign up and show up for people. So I love the fact that a big part of your business is taking a proactive approach to health versus reactive. So that's great.
Yeah.
How'd you decide that it would be like a running business though? Like what made you land there? Because you could become like a running coach without necessarily taking it fully onto like this strong and lucrative business.
Yeah, so I have a strong background as a runner. I ran college track and cross country,
Wow.
and it's always been in my blood. It's always been my passion, and so that's kind of the thing that really lights me up. And I didn't have the proper, I ran in college, but no one taught me the importance of nutrition with running. No one taught me
Mm.
the importance of strength training with running. And now, before it was all about running and competing, and now it's just what it gives me as a mom and how
Yeah.
good I feel doing it, and just showing other people something they think's not attainable, like running, showing them that they can do it. And that is just so rewarding for me, because people, like, they tell me I can't go run, and then they go out and they just take baby steps where
Yeah.
they're running, and it's
Oh
just such
yeah.
a mental thing that they get to do. It's so fun to help them through it.
It's so true. And there's a mental shift too. Like I started running in, I think it was 20. So I moved to Florida to do an internship at the Walt Disney World Resort. And I actually haven't shared much about Disney like from on my Instagram, but I worked there for about 4 years. And when I first moved there, I was severely overweight and I was trying to figure out something that would really light me up, a workout that I'd be passionate about and enjoy and stick with. And I started walking, and then I went from walking to lightly jogging, and then from lightly jogging to running these like 5Ks and the Disney races. They're so much fun, and they take your mind honestly off of the actual act of running because you're just moving from one point to the next to see the characters along the course. Have you done any of the Disney races?
No, but it's on a bucket list, so I'm glad
Okay.
you mentioned that.
I'm like, you have to go. They're like the best races and the time goes by so quick. So, so what obstacle would you say you overcame or had to overcome, or maybe even actively are overcoming in your business? Because I know launching a business is a huge, huge elephant to swallow. So, what big obstacle would you say you've had to face, and how have you sort of overcome that?
Yeah, I think that you hit it perfectly. The time commitment and just the investment in it and balancing working full time, being a mom, and growing a business. So my biggest hurdle was just kind of balancing it all and knowing that I wanted to take it slow because I didn't want to go
Mm-hmm.
so hard and heavy that one, I burned out, or two, the biggest thing was just learning how to balance that and set boundaries for my business
Mm-hmm.
and knowing at what phase of my life that I was going to take it. So when I had my little girl, I didn't grow leaps and bounds those months after I had her, but that was okay. And just knowing that that was okay because I was going to be here for the long haul.
No, that's good. Would you say that there's anything practical that you did? Because I do think, and I've said this on some of my other interviews, people are always like, well, just take it a moment at a time. But for somebody like me, my brain goes a million miles a minute, and I'm just kind of like, I have to do 5,000 things in the next 3 minutes, right? So how can I take it a minute at a time? So what would you say is something you'd share with people who maybe want to start a business, but they're not sure how to overcome some of those challenges of time constraints, especially?
My biggest thing was switching from just a to-do list and crossing things off to thinking, what's the result I want today? So what's
Mm-hmm.
the result I want today in my business? What's the result I want today in my family? And then doing the actions that get me closest to it. And the other thing that truly helps is scheduling my time. So scheduling my time to work and then scheduling family time and rest time. Because I'm one
Yeah.
that lets work creep into that. And so
Yeah.
really making those non-negotiables. And the great thing about social media that I do for my accountability, if I'm on Instagram, I say, hey, I'm unplugging to be with my family tonight. So I know if I'm on Instagram stories, people know I'm lying to them. So it holds me accountable to that too, and like checking off, because I think
I
people
love that.
respect that as well.
I love that. I actually have started putting things more in my stories just because it really does help you stay accountable. Like you can make a post, you can plan a post about being super healthy a week before like you start binging out on like things that you probably shouldn't be eating. But if you're doing stories every day and you're showing up, I think that is a good way of holding yourself accountable. So, and I work in the corporate world still. We'll see what journey my life takes. And one big thing that we have are like objectives and key results as well. So each quarter we're creating a high level objective around I want to be healthy, and maybe it's losing 10 pounds in 3 months, right, which is pretty reasonable. And then you're creating these key results that sort of funnel into that larger objective. So one of the key results would be maybe I'm going to work out 3 times a week for the next 12 weeks, right? So I think that's cool. Like you said, just creating those goals around your smaller every single day things that you want to be held accountable for. So that's great. And thinking about, and you guys see me looking down here because my memory's crap. I'm not going to lie, you guys. So I have to put everything down. I know that you did suffer from disordered eating previously. And so for those folks out there who are listening who maybe suffered with disordered eating in the past and they're trying to figure out, I know you mentioned nutrition is a big part of your program as well. It's not just the running business, but it's also the nutrition component. So what would you say to some of those folks who maybe have suffered with any type of disordered eating, that might want to think about a nutrition program? Because last thing I'll say about this is I've heard so many people talk about, you know, not wanting to do any sort of routine or program because then it can take you back into old habits. So what would you say to some of those folks?
Yeah. So first, if you've never like seen a professional for it, I definitely recommend it because they're going to help you identify your triggers. So I think it's really important to identify like what's going to get you back into those old habits. So there's a lot of different nutrition plans and it's crazy. There's things that other people with disordered eating can do and it helps them and it's a trigger for me. So I think the biggest thing is understanding what gets you into that mind space
Mm,
and just knowing how to stay away from it. And then when you start, like if you try something new and you're like, I'm becoming a little obsessive about my food, or this
Yeah.
doesn't feel right, understanding that it's okay to back away because it's so different and unique for everyone. So I think the biggest thing is just to identify your triggers and what kind of leads you back into those pathways.
I love that. And I won't stay there for too long, but in the past, when I first started running, I was very much focused on like, I loved my fitness pal, but it also became my demise because I was counting like every single peanut that I was eating. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is not, I talked to my mom about it and she's like, Taylor, you look great, but that's not sustainable. And it's so true. Like, and I think in many ways I did have a slight sense of disordered eating in the sense that I was just like, I couldn't even chew a piece of gum without thinking, how many calories is this? And I'm like, okay, I think I'm getting down the deep end. And I already have a little more of an obsessive personality. So I think that's a good point, knowing our triggers. Even if you don't have disordered eating, just knowing your trigger in general. If you're starting a new program, it's important to know what's going to take you off the deep end. Like some people have to change their route. You know, I've had friends who love McDonald's and they have to change their route home so they don't stop and grab a cheeseburger. And that's good. I mean, it's a step in the right direction. So,
Yeah.
can you tell us about any big projects you're working on? I know you also mentioned when we chatted previously about something that was coming up. So I think this would be a good time to share about, I believe it's Kayla.
Oh, yes. So one of my clients, she was 6 months pregnant and she got very sick with COVID, had to have her baby via emergency C-section, and the baby is doing well. She is doing great. And Kayla, she had to be transferred 5 hours away from her family to be put on full life support, like the highest level you could imagine. So she has three other older kids.
Oh,
And so her husband was dealing with all of that. And actually, I'll just jump to the highlight. Kayla actually did amazing. She is a miracle in the eyes of all of her doctors, and she just got discharged home this week to be with her baby girl. So it's truly the power of prayer. She was very sick, and just the power of the mental strength, I think. So what we did is, as a community, we started training for a 5K together. And over the 4th of July weekend, we're running a 5K for her. And when we started this, she was very sick. So we didn't know what her state would be. And so we're all going to run it for her and just give her more encouragement as she continues to gain strength. And all the proceeds go to the family to help with their medical bills, just between baby and the NICU, all of Kayla's fees. So that's a big thing that we're doing here in the next couple months, and something so near and dear to my heart that we're just glad that we get to celebrate this way.
no, that's awesome. And honestly, if you can share the link to that, Ashley, I don't think you shared it, but if you want to share the link, I'll put it in like the notes for this time with you because I think it would be great to support Kayla. And I won't be running anytime soon, but I will definitely put the link in there and I'll donate to that as well, my family and I. So that's great. And then let's talk about you. What projects do you have coming up? I know you have the plug for Kayla, but do you have anything that you want to share?
So we are just really starting to dive deep into some big things. My husband's starting full-time our business with me next month. And so, yeah, we're going to have some big things coming. One of my biggest projects that I'm going to implement, we're looking at September of this year, are guided prayer and runs / prayer and walks. So I'm going to guide you through a run, but I love to include prayer into exercise, and it's one of my favorite things. So that's going to be something coming this fall, and a project that's really just near and dear to my heart. So our goal is to start getting some samples out in the next month or so, and then we'll have a full kind of each week guided prayer. And you can run it, you can walk it, but just really connecting yourself through faith and fitness.
I love that. And I definitely think there's a big connection. You know, a lot of times, especially in the Black community, it can be tricky sometimes as far as like nutrition. And when you think about slavery times, not to get too deep, but when you think about slavery times, there was a component of nutrition that was lacking from that time period. So you fast forward to the Black church nowadays, there's a lot of struggles around nutrition and health. And so how do we tie it all back to God as well? So I love that you're tying it back and thinking about how if our body is a temple, then why aren't we praying for it and praying through it? And I think that's one thing that's been missing for me, like in my own journey of like health and fitness and wellness, has been praying because God does care about what we care about. So I think that's great. I
Yeah,
can't wait to see that program.
we're excited for it. So it should be coming here soon.
And so exciting that you and your husband are going to go into your business together. I'm like, wowzee, that's a big project.
Yes, it is. We're excited. You know, it's been kind of coming, and it's a leap of faith. You know, we're not 100% ready in practical terms, but we know that this is where we need to be. And so we're saying
Good.
yes and going for it.
More power to you. I'm excited. So we're going to kind of slowly wrap up because I know we're getting close to time and we're already a little behind, but you do have a few no cook lunch recipes. Do you also love to cook? And how did you come up with the content for that?
Yeah, so I love to cook. I used to actually, way back in college, I owned my own baking business. It's
Oh my
something
gosh.
I love to do. Yes. But mom life, right? Mom life and growing a business. So, and I have a lot of clients and a lot of my followers too in the same stage of life. Like, what are simple things that you can eat that literally just have to warm up or you don't cook that just make it really quick and simple? And these, I just came up with them for things that I find that work so that I can eat healthy. I have big, satisfying meals, yet I'm not spending hours at a time cooking, because in this phase of life with little ones, especially my daughter, she's 18 months old, you know, everything needs to be quick and fast. And so just showing people that it's relatable and can be worked into a busy lifestyle as well.
I love that. I love that. And I saw some of those. They look really good. So I'm going to be checking them out. Do you have any vegan options by chance?
Yeah, so we do, especially for a lot of my clients, I can come up with vegan stuff. We also have some free like sample meal plans for vegans. I
Awesome.
love and support all vegan. I think the research on it's amazing. So I have a lot of clients who utilize it, and I go back and forth between that as well.
Awesome. Okay, cool. Yeah, I'm just curious because I know a big part of my audience is probably on, they're vegan. So wanted to
Yeah,
give a shout out to all my vegans out there.
for
um,
sure.
do you have a favorite quote or mantra that you like to live by?
One recently that's really been inspiring me is every day you dare to dream, you fight back against the darkness of the world and add a little bit more light. And so just been encouraging me to continue to dream and let others dream right along with me and make them see that those things are a calling from someone else and attainable, and your way to use your gifts God gave you to serve
Yeah,
others.
I love that. So just to close, are there any three tips? I'll tie in two questions for the sake of time, but are there any three tips you'd want to give to any women out there that maybe want to launch their own business, or men, because now your husband's joining, so maybe he'll be pulling in some men into your business as well. I don't know if you already have them, but are there any tips that you would give to women or men out there who want to launch their own business and they're a little nervous, and then tying that all back together? If you want to end on how people can connect with you, I would love for you to share that as well.
Yeah. So number one, base it off of something that sets your heart on fire. So the thing that you could talk all day long about, make that your thing that you do. And number two, it's got to all be about service. Every time I've seen my business grow is when I give the most. So if you can come in with that servant heart, you're going to see the other end of it grow. And then the third tip is just be patient. Good things definitely take time to grow. And when you're in that season of doing hard work and you don't see it, keep watering those seeds, because you will be amazed at what happens. And you all can connect with me on Instagram. I'm coach_Ashley_Nicole, or my website is palmrunning.com. You're more than welcome to go check that out as well. It's also linked in my Instagram profile.
I love it. Ashley, seriously, thank you for coming on. Like, the moment we connected, I was like, she is it. She needs to be part of this. And I just love the fact that you're stepping out on faith to take risks, you and your family. And it sounds like you're inspiring your husband to do the same, and you guys are doing it together. So there's strength in numbers. We know that. So I'm really just proud of you and what you're doing. And please go, everyone that's following and watching this, please go and follow Coach Ashley. Again, that's coach_Ashley_Nicole, right?
Yes.
Okay. I was going by memory. I was not looking at my iPad for once. So I'm like, I hope I got it right. But thank you again. This is great. I'm going to have all of the recording and everything posted following my time with you. I appreciate you.
Yes, Taylor, thank you so much. And everything you're doing is so inspiring as well. And this has truly been an honor.
Thank you. Thanks, everyone. Have a great night. Bye.